Welcome to the Music for the Soul podcast, where we talk honestly about difficult things. This is a place where music, hope, and healing come together. I'm Becky Nordquist.
And I'm Steve Seiler. Thanks so much for joining us. We are so excited today to have my dear friend and colleague, Regie Hamm, with us. Regie is so many things. He's a prolific creative talent. An entrepreneur, I would say, is a really fair word for him. He's a hit songwriter, a music producer, a recording artist, an author, and a blogger. So he can come at you in a bunch of directions with amazing content, and we are just really excited to share him with you today. Reg, welcome.
Man, thank you for that introduction. I do all that? Are you serious?
Yes, and I didn't even mention parenting or any of that stuff.
That's mainly what I do.
You left out the fact that the man has a Wikipedia. Did you know this? He's on Wikipedia. I'm like, you've got to be kidding.
You must be somebody.
Well, listen, it's funny you say that. First of all, I didn't put it up. I have no idea how it got there. I think my manager did it, but I'm not exactly sure. But my son, when he was about, 12, 13, he came to me and said, "Dad, do you know that you have a Wikipedia?" Yeah, I know. I thought that was only reserved for important people.
That, and I was like on IMDb. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Wow. Like, I can't get your autograph through the waves here, man.
I guess I would be on IMDb for stuff, right? I guess if I've had songs and movies, I guess that'll put me on IMDb.
Yeah.
And it does. Totally gets you a cred there.
Awesome. The Wikipedia thing is fun because Scott Kerpane is on there too, and they have his birthday wrong, and he goes on and changes it and makes it right, and the next day he comes back and it's wrong again.
Of course. Because they think someone is messing with it.
Right.
And whoever the curators are. I'm telling you, if you really want to lose your faith in everything you know about history, read Wikipedia for a little bit. Or have one. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you don't read one about yourself and you're like, that's not true. I didn't do that.
I want to start with going to the Wayback Machine for a second. Our listeners probably already know that you wrote Time of My Life for David Cook, and it won the American Idol Song Contest several years ago. But the reason I bring that up is not for your part of the story, but for my part of the story.
Of course,
yes. It's about me for a second. So obviously was thrilled for you. It was a big hit, made a lot of money, all that good stuff.
Yep.
I needed a root canal. And I was sitting in the dentist's office, right? And they go in there and they're pulling on my tooth. And it turns out I have a double rooted tooth. I mean, the dentist literally has his foot on the chair. He's saying, "Everybody come look at this." Cause you don't see this that often, right?
I've been doing this 30 years. I've never seen one of these. Yeah.
And so what song is playing as the dentist is tugging at my double rooted tooth? David Cook's The Time of My Life. And I thought, yeah, Reg, that's what I'm having. The time of my life. Thanks for being with me.
I'm glad I could be there for you, Steve. That's awesome.
In ways you did not know.
So anyway, your beginning in music was very unique, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, really, really unique. I mean, when you're a kid, you don't think anything that's happening to you is unique. You're just living the life that you found yourself in. But the older I get, the more I realize what a weird way to grow up. But yeah, my parents were both musicians. My father had been a studio musician. My father was a self-taught child prodigy guitar player. My father actually has the weird story. Like he's got the really weird upbringing. Basically given to a traveling evangelist when he was 10, traveled the world. He would be in London and he would set his guitar up, find an outlet, plug his amp in. This is like 1957. He would play songs and get a crowd around. And then this evangelist would literally put a soapbox down and stand on his soapbox and preach to the crowd. That's how my dad was raised. And so then he kind of had his own evangelistic team. This is what I'm born into. And by the time I'll just put it this way. My first memory on earth is being broken down on the side of the road in a tour bus. That's my first memory. Waking up in a bunk. So I was just basically raised that way. And by the time I was 10, I was, the drummer, and I sang baritone an octave high or whatever. In the family group, my brother played bass and sang tenor, and my mother played the piano. My dad sang lead and played guitar. So we were making records. I mean, you could see these. I know this is audio, but if you could see the video, you'd see these records to my left, or these. This is sort of the wall of shame. No accolades allowed in here. This is remember who you are, where you came from wall. And these are my dad's records and the ones we made as a family.
My favorite picture of you, Reg, is you're in a bullpen, an actual bullpen, and you got your drum kit set up, and they're walking bulls past you.
That was that picture's in the office, and that was the last gig I did as the Hamm family drummer. I actually
enough
quit.
Is enough, right?
Yeah, no, I actually literally quit that day. I was like 17, I think, about to turn 17, and just said, "Dad, I think I've had enough doing this." And then I went off and formed rock bands and made all manner of mistakes, that.
Well, you say music has saved your life and ruined your life, and of course, at Music for the Soul, we founded this on the idea that music can save your life, right?
Yes.
So tell us first how it's been life-saving for you.
Well, I will tell you, without going into the psychological drama, I've tried to get out of the music business several times. I've officially retired a couple of times, and in 2019 went through a very, very difficult, I don't know what you would call it. It's just a psychological thing. I don't know, just a rough patch. Coming to terms with certain things about my childhood, coming to terms with certain things about myself as a person, why I did what I did. You kind of start asking, did I ever even like doing this? Did I?
Wow.
I don't know if you've ever asked yourself that question, but you look around at your life and I know I learned how to do it. And I know that there's a certain joy and there's a certain quote unquote love for it but it's almost like the way you love a spouse you've been married to for 40 years. It's like, it's different than that butterflies in the stomach kind of love. It's almost a necessity kind of, I'm leaning on this person. I've been married 31 years. Of course I adore my wife, but it is not the same love that we had when we were dating, right? Sure. It's not that, oh my gosh,
she touched me. Oh my God.
It's not any of that. It's a different kind of, and so I kind of had that about music, but I started asking myself, well, was I ever actually in love with it? Did I just do this because, I've been doing this since I was 5. And so then you go through this crisis of, have I wasted my life on something I'm not even really sure I loved in the first place? So I've had that when I say it's ruined my life, I think a lot of it has been wrapped up in that, the business of it, the lifestyle of it, the things that happen to you because of the pursuit of it. But what I finally came to right around 2020, oddly enough, COVID sort of helped me get clarity. What I realized was, if I stay in the process of making it, the process of making it is, this with Music for the Soul, you live this every day. That's where the psychological healing comes. That's where the soul healing comes, right? Yes. Because you're grappling with all this stuff and you're putting the salve of music on it, right? Yes. And when I stay in that, then I realize, yes, I absolutely love it. It's saving my life. It's centering me. It's keeping me grounded. It's keeping me who I am. When one person starts listening to it, then things start going off the rails. The first person that listens to the song, that's when I have to really guard against all of the weirdness, right? As long as I'm sitting at the piano, working things out, thinking through it, letting my heart feel things, letting myself emote, letting all of the craft do what it does, I'm in a really great place. And that's how it saves my life. When I play for Steve Seiler or Becky Norquist, then it starts ruining my life. So I have to, that's when I just have to guard against it and put all of the little backstops in place that we learn how to put in place to keep ourselves sane and people that our families can be around. I don't know if that makes any sense, but.
It does. It really does. I think every artist, writer, regardless of what you do currently, sometimes it's so easy to lose touch with why you started to do it in the first place.
Yes.
And then you find yourself in that tedious balancing of drawing life from it rather from where we need to be drawing life from, and finding our identity in our accomplishments or what we're doing,
Mhm.
as opposed to finding our identity where it needs to come from,
Oh,
right?
so, so true. And that's the deception of it, right? That's the grand deception of it. That's where the enemy, the trickster, whatever you want to call it, where that's where that entity works, lives, breathes, does his or her work, or what, whatever the devil is. That's where he lives and breathes, is right there in that little moment. There was a movie out years ago called The Devil's Advocate, and the basis was everything's vanity. Once you tap into
Yep.
some vanity, that's when you got them. I wrote my first song at age 9 in a church down on 53rd here in Nashville. That's now a bar. Draw your own conclusions. Um, but the moment of getting that song was one of the most profound moments of my life. It was just this, your body's tingling and your life is literally changing. You know what I mean? You're like, where are these words coming from? And where's this melody coming from? And I don't know what's happening to me. It's just this divine thing. And so my mother, I hand it to my mother. I said, Mom, I think I just wrote a song. And my mother, to her credit, she didn't chastise me. She didn't tell me to be quiet. She didn't tell me, hey, we'll look at this after church. She said, I never forget. You can't see this, but she took her finger. She said, follow me. My dad's up preaching. She takes me in a back room, one of these back rooms where you can't hear. There's an old piano back there, but you can't hear it out in the front. She goes, now you sing this to me and let me see if I can help you figure it out. So I sang it to her. She found the key. And we worked it out. She goes, you need to sing this before the service is over. And I'm like, okay. She goes, do you think you can do it? I'm like, yeah. So they're about to, all minds are clear. If there's nothing else. And then she holds her hand. She goes, we've got a song we need to hear before church is over. So she tells my dad, he goes, oh yeah. So that profound moment of writing the song turns into that moment of performing the song for a full house. First night I ever write a song. And I think, that I've been in that war ever since that moment. I think that's
Mhm.
been the war ever since that moment. And nobody did anything wrong. It's just the way these two concepts are built,
You
you
know,
know?
when you're creating, I feel like when you're creating, because, God is obviously a creator, we are in partnership in that moment. And there's something
Yeah.
pure and divine. And like you said, you don't know where the melody's coming from or it's coming, it's just happening.
Yep.
And it's pure and you're in the moment. And as soon as you go to play it for people, now it's not about that anymore.
That's right.
It's about a whole bunch of other things. And most of them are about ego.
Yeah,
Right.
almost all of it. I will tell you, the best performers, I think, when I see the performers that I think are the best, I think they're the ones who can stay in that purity
Hmm.
of the channeling, right?
Hmm.
When you see just a great performance, when you think, okay, they've somehow been able to extract their ego and also force their ego at the same time. You know what I mean? They've been
Well,
able to
it's
get
kind of hard because everywhere I go, he goes, right?
it. Yeah, exactly right.
Ah, very well. Very
Yeah,
well.
that's very well put. But when you watch Elvis or Prince or any of these great, Beyonce, whoever the great performers of our time are, you see someone who is completely consumed in ego, but also has somehow figured out how to get out of the way of it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so but without getting into all that, that you're right, Steve. The moment of creation is I mean, anybody who's ever created anything, a painting, a book, a song, or whatever, you feel really like you're channeling something from a higher power. You feel
Yes.
connected to God with, no other way to put it. You just feel, and that this isn't coming from me. I'm tapping into something above me. And sometimes when you come out with a song, you think, man, this has always been there. I
Hmm.
just found it. I'm just the one who found it,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Well, Reg, one of the things I love about you, you've always been so very encouraging to me since the very beginning of our relationship. And we were at lunch one day, and you were talking about how dark and difficult so many of the music for the soul subjects are. And he said, Steve, why don't you lighten it up a little bit? And you suggested that we do something on adoption.
Yeah.
And so we've been talking about creativity. So let us just take a moment to listen to a little bit of the song that emerged from that conversation.
if I saw myself in you, would it be a lie? I think sometimes I catch a glimpse when I look in your eyes. There is so much more to this and us than just a name, more than a sketch, more than a frame. 'Cause you stay under my skin and burst in my heart like 1,000 parades. And oh, you dance in my mind and rush through my soul like hope in my veins. And DNA will have its say, but nevertheless you remain under my skin.
Please tell our listeners, Reg, about your family and where the genesis of that song came from.
Yeah, well, my wife and I, for people who follow me, this is a well-worn story. It's, been a book and they're trying to make it into a movie and all of this stuff. But my wife and I found out through a long process that we could not have children. We have a very strange combination of physical ailments that prevent us from ever, reproducing biological children. And the doctors have all told us, you, Reggie, could probably do it with a different person, and you, Yolanda, could probably do it with a different person, but the two of you together will never make children. So, that definitely makes you think. I'm like, wow. So you're saying I could do this with some other people? I mean, but so we decided, we actually always wanted to adopt, but we thought it would be in combination with having biological children. But we just kind of sped the process up, and we adopted our first little girl from China, and that was very dramatic. And then our son was adopted domestically. He's from Mississippi. So we say we have one foreign child and one from China. So that's for all my Mississippi friends. But what we were talking about, and I believe in that conversation, is that when I look at and my son looks just like me. Like he's in fact, there's a picture. He had to do something for a class project where he took a record cover and recreated it. And he chose my American Dreams record cover and he recreated it. And it looks just like me on So that's a very odd thing. My daughter looks nothing like me. Obviously, she's a different race. But when I look at these kids and I'm around them, and I don't know because I don't have biological kids, but I can't imagine being more connected, loving them more, having any more of a intimate relationship with anybody than I have with these kids. And it was just like they are just under my skin. They're like my blood. They're like my heartbeat, my life. If it's worse than that with biological kids, I'm really glad I didn't have any because I can't, I'm at my love, I can't handle anymore or I will drown. So I think we were talking about that. Then also they're just under my skin because they're on my nerves all the time. So, there's that part of it too.
We went more the positive route with
we took the positive side. They're not, no, at the time, I think they were smaller, but now they're, my daughter's an adult and my son is almost 16. So he's under my skin for different reasons.
We actually wound up, I can't remember, Reg, whether it was your idea or mine, just kind of came out of writing the song, but we said, hey, we know lots of people who've adopted. Why don't we get all the players on this song to be adoptive parents?
Everybody who played on the record has adopted kids. And I think most of them were in the video, actually. I don't know if all of them were, but I think most of them were. And everybody, and they were all so into it and they all really resonated with the song. And I'm glad you brought that up because I thought that was a really cool piece of it. Every one of them that heard it was like, they were like, yes, that's exactly how I feel,
And while we had them all together, we interviewed everybody and put together a little documentary that goes with it. So people who are interested in hearing that, seeing that, that's obviously something you can check out at Music for the Soul. But
I'm really glad you did it. I'm glad you did the thing. There's so many people who are adopted and so many people who are adoptive parents. And there are issues that come with that. There are mountains of studies on people who have been adopted and the challenges they face, and all their heart rates are faster than people's, who haven't been adopted heart rates, and they all have attachment issues. No matter how loved they are, no matter when they were adopted, they all have some sort of attachment issue. So it was definitely, I think, a subject worth tackling in the framework of what you do.
Yes, I was just going to say, the more we worked on it, the longer we worked on it, the less light it felt.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
As all those issues begin to emerge, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to really help some folks to hear from people who've lived it, for those who are considering adoption, or for those who are struggling with some issues, to feel not alone in that process.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't see this happen with my daughter, but I watched my son get taken out of his birth mother's arms. I watched the process happen. And I knew, and it, you don't think about it until you were watching it. And I'm like, man, I'm watching something really profound happen here. And I know that I'm seeing this affect a person for the rest of their life. Maybe in small ways, maybe in no way that will be demonstrable in his life, but it's definitely going to affect him in some ways. And so as his adoptive parents, we bend over backwards to make sure he understands, look, you're loved, you are wanted. My gosh, we fought alligators to get you here. You're definitely wanted. But that doesn't change your origin story, and it doesn't change.
Right.
And everybody eventually has to come to terms with their origin story. And my own, my own same way. I mean, how and why you are. We always say, I always say this in the record business. People talk about what makes the difference in a great artist, and I always say it's about who are you and why are you. If you are really tapping into something as an artist, then we're going to find out what makes you tick eventually. We're going to find out, what your motivations are. And you get to all that stuff.
Yeah, the why is what makes it compelling.
Absolutely.
That's your story. That's what draws people in.
Yeah. I mean, listen, even like Paul McCartney, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. That's his mom. That's his dead mother.
Yep.
And even when he's a man in his 20s, getting close to 30, he couldn't outrun that. That's his why. That's his origin story. And so we all deal with that on some level, in some way, and it comes out. And so people who are adopted are always going to have that piece of them that they have to deal with. And I think the only thing you can do as their parents is just say, I can't help you with all of this, but I just want you to know you're not unwanted. You're not unloved. In fact, you may be wanted more than I was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So some people who are born and raised in the same family are just like products of pragmatism, right? They're just products of mom and dad going, okay, well, we're here now, let's do it. But no, in our family, it's like we went after this kid. We wanted him in our home, and we made room and all of that stuff. And you just have to keep telling them that and hope that affects the rest of everything that's going to affect them,
Right. Well, Reg, I don't want you to get away today without sharing with people about your blog. I saw Steely Dan in Memphis one night, and Donald Fagen introduced Walter Becker as a stern critic of the contemporary scene. And I would say you may have usurped Walter Becker as a stern critic of the contemporary scene.
Oh man. The blog it's so weird. I've been doing it since 2006. The very first blog I wrote was something on the Grammys in 2006. I did not know what I was doing then. I don't know what I'm doing now. I sat down and just typed out about 1,000 words and just posted it on MySpace, and immediately it started getting traction. It's the thing probably I've had the most universal response to, positive response to, probably even more than my songwriting. And it's so weird because I don't know why. I don't know. I don't even know why people still read stuff. Honestly,
I can tell you why. Because you don't pull any punches. The number one word that comes to mind when I think of your blog is honest. And that's whether I agree with what you're saying or disagree with what you're saying. It doesn't even matter. I know you believe what you're saying.
Well, I do.
And you say it with you. It's well researched. It's often hilariously funny. It's often wickedly uncomfortable. I mean, you just go there. Yeah, and you don't hold back anything. And I think it's that raw honesty that draws people in.
You know, I think people are tired of not having a straight shot when it comes to stuff like this. And whether you agree or not, that's kind of beside the point. So
Yeah, well, I thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I try to do that with songs as well, and with I don't know with the blog. You know, I will tell you this. You can. I've written thousands of them now, and I'm putting the second book out this Christmas. One thing I can tell you, and I would love for everyone to this. If anything, if I have any kind of legacy, I would love for everyone to emulate this. You can read any blog I've ever written, and there are no pejoratives. I've never called anyone a moron. I've never called anyone an idiot. I've never called anyone any name. In fact, I have that as a virtual sign on my desk. No pejoratives. I don't believe in calling people names. Calling people names is the Alamo of any argument. If you get to that point, you've lost the argument. And so, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Dude, Steve, you remember all those conversations we used to have when we wrote at the same publishing company? We would all sit around and pontificate. And I mean, it's essentially that.
Yeah.
You know,
we were saving the world every day. So
every day, man, we had it figured out. And I think at the end of it, one of us would always say, somebody should have been writing this down, you know? And so I just don't have any way to leave the house. So that's all I do is sit around and type stuff. And, you know, but thank you. It's read by a lot of people. I don't make a ton of money doing it, but I make more money than anyone should ever make for doing it. And
well, we can't let you get away without telling us what you're currently working on music wise.
Yeah. So I'll be honest. Okay. So I'm 55 years old and I am more excited about music and creativity and all the projects I'm into right now than I was when I was 25. I'm just so excited about the future and excited about what I'm working on. I have about 25 to 30 new songs I've written. And I'm I'm getting ready to start a YouTube channel. And I'm going to have you on this, Steve. I'm just going to do a YouTube channel. This year, I got contacted by Mark Hall at the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and he said, "Hey, I think you meet the criteria for maybe getting nominated to this one day. I want to do a deep dive on your discography." Now, this is something I've never done, and forgot about half these songs that were out. You know how this is, Steve. You put a lot of songs out, and anyway, we started doing it, and it's kind of a bottomless well. And you start getting into the hundreds and hundreds of songs that are out there, and he starts sending me stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I did write that, and then I go, So I'm going to do a YouTube channel. I'm going to launch it soon, where I'm just on video talking about the stories behind these songs. Right. And how this song happened and that song happened. And I'm really excited about that. It's something about reconciling your past like that. And then obviously new songs that are coming. We're going to talk about that, how they came about. I've got a Christmas song coming out that's just this fluke thing with Kevin Pauls and Gary Chapman called Ugly Sweater that started out as a joke. And when it started getting written, we realized this is not a joke. This is actually something kind of cool. And now it's kind of turned into something bigger than we expected it to be, or maybe even wanted it to be. So that's happening. Like I said, I'm doing these little TikTok videos, and I'm kind of working on the outskirts of a project associated with the new Reagan film, the new Reagan biopic that's coming out. The soundtrack is going to be basically classic songs. This is a 100-year biopic, so these will all be songs from Al Jolson to Guns N' Roses. But there's a songs inspired by a project that I'm sort of a part of the executive producer team, and we're working on that. We're working on our film that's kind of ongoing, and now there's talks about a 4-episode mini doc to accompany that. When they talk about the documentary, all the filmmakers are like, man, this is more than one episode. This is probably a 4-episode piece. And so along with that, I want to get all my American Idol alum friends to do a compilation piece associated with it. There's just a lot of music to make, and it's I don't know. I'm overwhelmed by it often, but I think the shift after having COVID and going through that the last couple of years, I don't know. I kind of came home from the hospital, going, man, I'm just not gonna leave any ground under my feet. I'm gonna keep going, and because we don't know how much longer we have, and
No, we sure don't.
I just want to do what God put me here to do while I'm here, and then what the end result of that is, hopefully it helps someone. That's the kind of the shift. You go from wanting to wow people to wanting to help people, right?
Right.
Which is
Exactly.
where you guys are every day.
Well, there's
Well-
something so valuable with all the things that you have contributed, Reggie. Just you contribute to the soundtrack of life for people when you're using your creativity the way that you have and blessed us with so many great songs over the years and soundtracks and such. That becomes a soundtrack for life for people. So that's a gift to us. And I just want to say thanks.
Thank you very much.
Being faithful to your craft, and now you're using things like something. So who would have thought we'd have something like TikTok, right? Like
Right.
10 years ago. But I know a lot of up and coming songwriters that are just starving for those 3 tips that you'd forgotten about. And it'll be a lifeline for them, not just in their journey, but also in their own process and perhaps their own healing in that musical process, right? So
Well, I hope so. I think of the way I like to think of it is, what would I love to have seen when I was 22 or 23
right.
doing this,
And what did you need in those early days,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And that encouragement to keep going, even if nobody's listening yet, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you saying that, Becky. That's very kind of you.
Reg, how do people get in touch with you if they want to know more about what you do?
I don't want to talk to anybody. No, I'm kidding. The best way right now to get in touch with me is find me on TikTok, send me a message, or find me on Facebook. That's really where everything lands. Everything kind of goes to Facebook. I would love nothing more than to not ever be on Facebook another day in my life. But on the other hand, I will say that a lot of good things have come through Facebook and the family that I've kind of cultivated there, and that's the best way to get me.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much for being with us today. And like I said, thank you for all you've done for our world and music. And if you enjoyed the discussion today, please share it with a friend and give us a positive review on iTunes.
And please visit our website, musicforthesoul.org, where you can stream or download every song in our catalog, including Under My Skin. Read our lyrics, our healing music guide, our blog posts, and much more. Thank you for listening. God bless.
If I saw myself in you, would it be a lie? I think sometimes I catch a glimpse when I look in your eyes. There is so much more to this and us than just a name, more than a sketch, more than a frame. 'Cause you stay under my skin and burst in my heart like 1,000 parades. And oh, you dance in my mind and rush through my soul like hope in my veins. And DNA will have its say, but nevertheless you remain under my skin. Tell me what blood really means, if love can run this deep. Family is more than 1,000